Okay, let's proceed with the ECs. If any of the ECs would want to give a short statement, a brief statement. Yes, Attorney James Balsomo
Good
from
morning,
Ileco.
Honorable Chair and honorable members of the House of Representatives. Our narrative report has already been consolidated in the report of the DOE, but on the part of the ECs, may we add for the record, Honorable Chair, that the uh, shutdown of the Panay grid for the past 1 year uh, happened not only twice, Mr. Chair, but thrice. First, in February of 2023, the cause is undetermined. It lasted only for 8 hours, so less than a day. The power was restored.
Sorry, Attorney Balsomo, you're saying that in February
And
there was
total
an
shutdown.
incident already.
Yes. The Panay subgrid shut down totally in February 2023, Mr. Chair. That was the first. The second was April 27 to 29, the second, 2023. And the third is last January 2 to 5 this year, Mr. Chair. So there were three massive shutdown in the Panay subgrid within a period of 1 year from today. That is to make the record straight. And second, Mr. Chair, with respect to the incident last January 2, when PDC Unit 1 trip, there was no communication whatsoever from the part of the grid operator to all the 10 electric cooperatives in Region 6. There was no demand control imminent warning that we have to reduce our demand within the minutes prescribed in the grid code. There was no instruction to implement manual load dropping, and there was no automatic load dropping by the system. And to clarify things, the grid operator, the NGCP, is providing for the under frequency relay settings in our substations so that in case of imbalances in the supply and demand in the system, automatically the predetermined substation in our among the distribution utilities would trip automatically. But none of that happened until there was voltage fluctuation and then followed by total shutdown of the Panay subgrid, Mr. Chair. That is for the record. The ECs are the receiving end among together with the private utilities, the DUs. We are the receiving end in the power system grid. However, we are not the passive participants supposedly. In fact, we are the ones facing the consumers and we are the ones paying for the entire cost of the operation and maintenance of the system. And we would like to bring this to the attention of the committee that for 2023 alone, the 10 electric cooperatives in Region 6 paid the amount of 971 million 421,608 and 28 centavos for ancillary services. These payments, these ancillary services are being paid by our consumers, whether utilized or unutilized. The purpose of ancillary services is to secure the integrity and security of the grid for any contingencies like this. But if the grid code has been followed, Mr. Chair, first, the grid should not have collapsed. And second, in the restoration part, given that the grid has already collapsed, the restoration process would not last for 4 days. Why? Because the ARC chair is here. Under the grid code, the contingency reserve requirement should be not less than the largest operating unit in the grid. On the part of Panay, that is 150 megawatt, the PDC Unit 3. Given the required power of 300 megawatt to stabilize the grid, upon the synchronization of PDC Unit 1 the night after the incident, and the synchronization of PDC Unit 2 the following day, the next morning, there should have been more than enough power to stabilize the grid if the ancillary services had delivered as expected. So,
Mr. Chair, ano natin palampasin to? Kabalog, nasaan ba yung ancillary na yan? Yung binabayaran nila? Bakit hindi yun na-activate? Hindi nga, kahit nasa pero interconnected, di ba?
Sorry, the ancillary service is being asked. Where is the ancillary service located? In Negros Island or in Panay Island? Mr. Clark?
Hindi, di ba tatlo yun?
Pag kasi po sa ancillary services, yung Visayas wide, hindi po tayo per subgrid. Oh yes, opo.
So
And then,
nagsisingil kayo para sa wala. Hindi, yun ang ibig sabihin na sinabi mo eh.
during that time po, nung mag-trip si PEDC, answering the
Ito on record ha. 60 megawatts slated, Therma Visayas 2 times 26, UPSI Toledo, both in Cebu and one in Leyte. So supposed to be, they should be in service through the interconnection whenever something like this happens.
Yeah.
So in short, they cannot provide ancillary services.
during that time po, meron tayong
I
regulating
don't care
reserve.
about what's during that
Apo.
time.
Oh, sorry sir. Kasi ang
Because you-
context,
So, pwede ba pakisoli yung 971 million? Hindi naman pala pwede pakinabangan eh.
Honorable Joey, if we can reserve it later, we already
Hindi
see
kasi
the point.
nagsasalita
No,
ako
I understand already, but it might create a cascading of questions from the members, and I don't know how I'll be able to handle all of you guys. So let me just finish the resource persons from their presentation, and then we'll just go back to the question regarding the locations of the ancillary service.
May-
Okay. This would be the last.
Yes, Mr. Chair, because this is relevant dun sa kinokollect nila ancillary services. Meron po kami sa bill namin na transmission charges. So, amabot na yun ng bilyon. Saan na pupunta ang pera? Saan na nakadeposito? Anong ginawa ni RC to secure, to make sure na yung pera na yan may gamit ng husto? So, gusto natin malaman magkano, how much na yun ngayon. Kasi sa bill namin, every time nagbabayad kami, kasama yung transmission charges.
Okay.
So sigurado to na nasa capex na ng, alam kung saan to.
Thank you,
pupunta.
Honorable Baranda. So if the GM of Ileco is finished already with his statement and presentation.
Mr. Chair, just to make things clear, under the grid code, may tatlo pong ancillary services supposedly. Na di ba, we have the regulating reserve, we have the contingency reserve, we have the dispatching reserve. All these are intended to ensure the integrity and security of the grid, so walang collapse na mangyayari supposedly. And in case of restoration, the power would be restored in the shortest time possible. Hindi mag-last for 4 days. Kasi we are facing the direct accountability sa aming consumers on behalf ng entire power industry. And Mr. Chair, we would like to bring to the attention, of course, of the committee. Sa part kasi ng electric cooperative, we are non-profit service focus. So yung revenue loss namin, we have no means of recovering the same on behalf of the consumers. No, none. And the transmission cost may add sa sinabi ni Congresswoman Barunda. Correct me later if I'm wrong. This is demand side. Ibig sabihin kahit na mag-shutdown ka ng isang buwan, we will still be paying for this. That's the burden of our consumers. And yung sa amin lang kasi, Mr. Chair, we have conducted series of meetings with the NGCP demanding full transparency sa information, which is actually required under the grid code, that they should establish a system of communication between the operator and the user. Sa lahat ng aspect ng operation po, sa load and demand, and then sa lahat ng nangyayari. But as things now stand, ma-inform lang kami, sir, after the fact na. So walang communication na nangyayari. And after following our technical meeting last May, following the last April 2023 incident, we wanted to find out the root cause of the problem. Why is it that there is a simultaneous tripping? That is not the cause of the collapse of the grid. There's a systemic problem underlying. Kasi theoretically, hindi magkaroon ng simultaneous tripping lahat ng mga generators natin. So we demanded the data from them, which is not shared of course, publicly. But during the technical meeting, we demanded the technical data, and we of course made our own analysis and advanced our analysis on this. To be honest and frank, Mr. Chair, sabi na nga namin, yung mga engineers ninyo, they may have master's engineering, yung mga engineers din ng Madios, ganun din. So being indispensable partners, why don't you share the information with us? For all you know, we might be able to identify the underlying problem and propose solutions. And we ask them, with respect to the increase, particularly on this problem, there is the so-called oscillation, as shown, some voltage fluctuation, ganon. Is there an instrument in the current grid infrastructure that could detect, that could manage, and could dump the irregular frequency brought about and the weakening of the power system inertia in the grid brought about with increased penetration of renewable energy sources, particularly yung solar farms natin? Because they are emerging technologies. When our grid was formulated, wala pa ito. But they are creating problems. There are a lot of studies conducted years ago in the US, in Europe, and other parts of the world. And there are recommendations on this. Sad to say, we were made to understand wala. And according to the people from NGCP, one of the smart instruments that should have been introduced sa grid to manage effectively yung voltage fluctuation, yung M-bar problems, is the static bar compensator. Among the options, there are a lot of smart instruments in the market. Among this, one of the cheapest is static bar compensator. However, according to them, this is yet to be procured in 2025. But on the part of the ISIS, Mr. Chair, power security is a matter of national security. We wanted a sense of urgency in all the parties here. Because until the root cause of the problem is resolved, it would again be a matter of time. Same statement na binitawan namin, Mr. Chair, no last April. It would be a matter of time again when the same incident would happen. Oh, so nangyari ulit. And then we wanted, of course, to determine if the report regarding the completion of the Cebu Negros Panay interconnection is really progressing as it should. So our technical team from our ECs in Negros, Noneco, conducted visual inspection, and our technical team also in Aklan by Akelco. Kung ano ba talaga ang situation ng interconnection na ito. But sad to say, we have submitted a report with ANEA, and I believe it was forwarded to the DOE, on the real progress on the ground. There are portions na wala talagang structures, and there are portions na structures lang, wala pa ring wire. So there may be underlying issues on this, but this is the real situation. Based on the assessment, Mr. Chair, the project is at most 70% completed. And it is supposedly to be delivered or completed by March of this year, supposedly December. Again, it's sa March. March, again, the target. But we seriously doubt, Mr. Chair, if the project would be completed in March, given the current state of the implementation, Mr. Chair. On the part of the electric cooperatives, we do not want to blame anybody here. We wanted effective solutions. We wanted to contribute to the solution, supposedly. On the last January incident, Mr. Chair, if there was instruction from the NGCP, we would really comply, as we usually do. Wala pong pasaway sa distribution utilities. Lahat po ng instruction ng operator is seriously followed. At lahat po ng settings namin po sa substations namin are set with NGCP. We cannot go away with that. So kung ganito yung regulations nila, we have to comply. And lastly, Mr. Chair, on the issue na ni-raise kanina ni Governor Navat and Governor Miraflores, on the equitable distribution ng available power in case of situation like this. Kasi we have limited power, it was allocated sa iba't ibang DIOs. However, there is no specific guidelines on how the grid operator should do this. Without the specific guidelines on how the available power should be equitably distributed, Mr. Chair, the grid operator cannot distinguish what is equitable distribution from what is whimsical. That is when nagreklamo ibang DIO kami on the part of Eleco 3, we maintained at the 30% level for several days. Wa ibang DU matataas. So we are not complaining on an unfair treatment. No. What we are asking is that there should be equitable distribution. Meaning may mga priorities tayo, hindi naman lahat dapat equal eh. Katulad sinabi ni Governor Mar Flores, yung Boracay, that is a center of economic activity, should be given priority. Given. But there must be specific guidelines to govern situations like this. And we wanted that the grid code requirements, Mr. Chair, should be followed by all parties because following the grid code, this situation would have not lasted for 4 days, Mr. Chair. Because sa aming part, kami yung lahat ng sisi sa amin eh. But okay, that's the curse we have to face. Kami ay lahat ng reklamo sa amin and we'll bear all the financial burden after the incident, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Balsomo. He touched on a lot of issues that I think could help our regulator and the DOE. Any other electric cooperative who'd want to give a statement? Yes, Philreca. Ms. Santos.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we'll just make this brief. I think Attorney Balsomo has already discussed several concerns of the electric cooperatives. But for PIRECA, we really strongly support the collective purpose of the resolutions. As mentioned, from 2023, there has already been 2 grid disturbances. And just for this January, another has incident occurred. So these are the same electric cooperatives that have been affected and the same member consumer owners. So I think I don't know if NEA will be providing the data, but for January 2 alone, I think there have been 800,000 member consumer owners who have been affected. So for us, for electric cooperatives, I think they have already done all that they can do. They have conducted the rotational power interruptions to avoid a total grid system collapse. And they have, as mentioned, ang ECs po talaga ang sumasalo lahat ng complaints and iron ng member consumer owners, and which we understand. And I think they have also provided the necessary updates and the information, regular updates po to their member consumer owners. So for PIRECA, we have submitted our recommendations, but we would just like to emphasize the following. One is yung fast tracking ng CNP project. Other is strengthening po yung ating regulatory oversight and if possible, and finally, maybe we could also consider the amendments po sa Filipino. We would also like to again going back okay. So as mentioned, yung total revenue loss po ng electric cooperatives for the whole power interruption is 92,529,551. So for electric cooperatives alone lang po yun. Hindi pa kasama yung for the economic effect po doon sa buong Panay Island. So again, Mr. Chair, we submitted our position papers relative to this matter and we look forward to the positive outcome for this concern po. Thank you.
Yes, I think
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Honorable Benitez.
Ma'am Santos, you were suggesting a review, an amendment of, I missed what you said.
For ERC po, yung grid code po.
Yung grid code. Do you have specific amendments that you would like to submit to the committee?
Yes, we will submit our position paper relative to this na lang po.
Thank
Mr.
you.
All right, thank you. Also, we have present today is just like to acknowledge the presence of Honorable Carlito S. Marquez and Honorable Mayor Treñas. I think Honorable Marquez has a brief statement. Honorable Marquez. So while waiting for them, can I hear from the other ECs, if none?
Mr. Chair.
From more, yes.
Good
Mr.
morning.
Castro, yes.
Yes, sir. To the honorable panel, good morning, and to everyone. Yeah, well, just in behalf of more, actually this was already taken up, and I aired this yesterday, and I'm sure we will still be talking about the unfinished projects of NGCP, and well, basically, I know that the committee is looking into the big mega projects of NGCP, like the CNP, no, and all the others. But I'd like to stress that if the 3x100 MVA substation, new substation in Iloilo, will not be commissioned by end of the year, that would actually render Iloilo on rotating brownout, simply because of the load growth in Iloilo. However, well, I'd like to also submit it to the committee that NGCP committed to commission this by December 31, 2024. No, but I'd like to put it on record that if it doesn't come, well, we will have another round of outrage due to outage from the good mayor of Iloilo City, Mr. Chair. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Castro. Can we hear from Nea? I think Nea is here. Attorney Rosero Lee.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and to the honorable members of the committee, as well as to all the other resource persons present here. Good morning, everyone. The National Electrification Administration has gathered all the reports from the electric cooperatives on the ground, and we have forwarded the data and all the other information to the Department of Energy, which I understand had been incorporated in the presentation earlier made. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Rosero Lee from NEA. I think we lost the connection of Honorable Marquez. I think we have from the academe, we have Professor Roaldo Del Mundo from the UP College of Engineering. If you have a
Good
statement.
morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. I would be answering questions later on if there are, as I think I was invited in the context of I wrote the grid code in 2001 that was promulgated by the ERC, and possibility of discussing the incident relative to the grid code. I would be able to answer questions later on. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Professor Del Mundo. We also have another professor, Dr. Mahalea Ravago from the Ateneo de Manila University. Yes, ma'am, if you have a brief statement.
Yes, so I was also invited because we are also looking at the impact of outages and disruption in the grid. But of course, as we've heard, there is a not only inconvenience and immediate impact as we have experienced, but there's also a future impact of disruption like this. Not only so that is a big impact actually in terms of attracting businesses in the region. As you have said earlier, it's not only the airports, but it's also the electricity that is contributing to the cost of doing business in the region. So if we're experiencing like this, how can we attract businesses in the future? Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. We also have Mr. Elmer Foro, the Secretary General of Bagong Alyansa Makabayan.
Mr. Chair, sa kay Gob na sa mga congressman namin at sa Iloilo at sa city at sa province sa buong Panay. Magandang umaga po. Yung sa akin po dito na pagpunta ay upang ipaalam din sa bading ito na yung isang malaking impact dito ay yun sa maliliit na tao. Lalo na yung mga MSMEs natin na walang kakayahan na bumili ng mga alternative power generators. At sila po yung nagtitinda ng isda, karne, mga frozen food, mga sidewalk vendors, mga public market vendors natin, yung maliliit. At maliban po doon yung mga manggagawa natin sa BPO, lalo na yung home base, ang dami nun. At sa mga estudyante natin na umaasa din sa mga internet. At alam natin na ilang araw na walang pasok sa hindi lamang sa Iloilo, kundi sa buong Panay dahil sa brownout na ito. At alam din po natin na sa loob lamang ng halos wala pa isang taon, 3 beses na nangyari ito, paulit-ulit, yung pinagtataka natin hanggang ngayon walang nananagot. So sabi nga ng iba kanina, kailangan nating magtulungan, pero kailangan ding may managot dito. Sino yung sisingilin ng mga manggagawang na wala na trabaho? Sino yung sisingilin ng mga maliliit na negosyante na bumagsak yung kabuhayan dahil lang sa brownout? So sino yung mananagot? Ito yung isang demand namin na maliliit sa bagay na ito. At syempre, dapat ding tingnan natin sino ba talaga yung ugat ng problema dito. Nung ipinasa po yung IPIRA law, yung deregulation sa power industry, ang sabi po na rason dito ay upang maging maganda yung takbo ng power. Pero ito po yung nangyayari. So ang nais lang po namin dapat siguro ding reviewin yung IPIRA law kung ano yung mga butas dito upang hindi na paulit-ulit yung problema dito. Maliban po doon, yung mga demands po namin para mabilis na mag-conduct po ng malalimang pag-aaral kung sino ba talaga ang may sala at may dapat managot dito. Pangalawa, para ma-identify din po yung mga companies o mga corporations na responsible sa nangyayaring ito 3 beses, halos wala pa 1 taon. Pangatlo po, dapat din pong i-compensate yung mga naging biktima rito. Sabi po ni Mayor, mahigit 2 bilyon yung epekto doon sa city pa lang, ano? Pero tingin ko sa province kay Governor, mas malaki pa, ano? Mas malaki. Ibig sabihin, marami yung nagsakripisyo dito. So so dapat hindi lang ibalik yung yung ibinentang hindi naman dumating, kundi yung nagiging apektado ng brownout na to, gaya ng sinasabi ko, yung maliliit na mga tao. Pang-apat din, dapat i-reconsider din, i-reconsider ng Congress yung at pag-aralan din yung IPIRA law. Dapat tingnan natin yung problema doon sa policies natin tungkol sa power industry natin. At tingin natin kailangan nating maghanap ng mga alternative power generators natin, pero hindi naman sana yung nakakasira ng kalikasan. Hindi yung mga malalaking dam, hindi yung mga coal-fired power plant na makakasira ng kalikasan. So tingnan din siguro natin yung mga alternative power generations na mas ecology friendly po. Yun lang po.
Thank you, Mr. Foro. We also have, I forgot one of our generation companies, the GM of FFHC, Mr. Alisla. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and good morning to everyone, including to the members of the committee. We're just a bit surprised in this invitation, but I think reading on the minutes of last August meeting, it was mentioned in the minutes that the power blackout in Panay actually resulted after the tripping up of our power plant in First Farmers. It's stated here on April 28 on the presentation of NGCP. While most of the plants were in restorative state, the First Farmers holding plant tripped, which resulted in the blackout on Panay Island. While the statements may say that we are the cause, we'd like to believe that we were the last line of defense at that time. I think the grid was we tripped because the voltage in the line was 8 kV already. Our line is 13.8 and we cannot handle it anymore. The plant is a cogen plant connected to a sugar mill. So when we are operating the sugar mill, we are exporting power. In this case, we are generating about 13 megawatt. We are exporting about 7. So during this time, we were operating, and when the power plant tripped, we continued to operate our own mill and our power plant, and we were producing sugar. I think at about within an hour we were able to go back. But again, when the power again, when the voltage again fluctuated, we again tripped. So just to explain that when we nominate our own generation of power and export, we try to comply with it. Again, on a general note, I think we also have some inputs in terms of how we will proceed with this. But the way I look at it, if we looking at the report of NGCP as well, there are a number of plants on shutdown last January 2nd. And most of these plants are cogen plants in Negros. The ones in Victorias, the one in Hawaiian, the ones in Sunedco. They were all in shutdown because we were not milling during the time. No sugar cane was being delivered to our mill. So we cannot generate power. At this point in time, there is a potential for us to improve our generation and export capacity, but it is all dependent upon feedstock, fuel. And the fuel that we use is dependent on the supply of cane because that is from the bagasse. Now, we're looking at, in our case, for instance, we can mix some fuel. Like from bagasse, we can mix certain like wood chips and others. With that, we can extend our generation and we can also, again, maybe, on another note, after this incident of April, I think last June, we were given a new set of settings in terms of protection on the grid. And we are complying with that with NGCP. So that is all our statement. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Alisla from First Farmers. Yes, so there being no more resource persons who would give their presentation or statements, we may now open the floor for interpellations. May I suggest and request our members if they can limit their interpellations or their questions to 5 minutes so as to be able to give everyone a chance to be able to ask their queries or questions. But before proceeding, may I acknowledge the presence of Honorable Garin. Proceeding, first on the list, we have Honorable Sergio Dagoong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, but can I request for another 5 to make it 10? Kasi this issue is a very technical issue, although it has, of course, a huge financial implication. But the main issue here is very technical. So if the chair can consider granting me 10 minutes at least, then if
Honorable Dagoong, I would want to grant you 10 minutes, but we have so many members who are willing or who have their questions. I even put my questions off already as the last one to question. So if you can only limit it at 5, then we can do a second round. Thank you, Honorable Dagoong.
Anyway, Mr. Chair, thank you and good morning, good noon, everyone. I will just limit, babaguhin ko na lang yung line of questioning ko. Bakit po, Mr. Chair, wala dito yung ISO sa Panay, sa Negros? Bakit po si Mr. Clark ang nandito? Wala po, nandito po ba siya? Sir, can you answer directly? Kasi kung yung central office po ang ay kung legal to, hearsay po yung sinasabi niya. Ikaw po yung nandun eh. So, can we hear directly from you? Thank you. Sir, are you aware of the specific provisions of the grid code na tinamaan po sa insidenteng ito? The specific provision of the grid code, that covers this incident.
Yes, we have provisions in the grid code. That's correct, Your Honor, and we're looking at some provisions there, such as 6234 and 6232, 6233.
Mali po yata. Baka saka lang kayo nag-aaral sa grid code nung nangyari ito. Baka sa first incident, hindi nyo pinag-aralan ng mabuti. Ang pinag-usapan kasi dito, iba doon sa sinasabi mo. Dagdagan mo ng 1. Hindi po section 6 to, section 7 po to. Nandyan si Prof. Wally, mahiya tayo. I'm happy na nandito si Prof. Wally kasi si Prof. Wally ang magiging referee dito. Section 6 o section 7? Anong specific provision? Inansiran ko na yung sagot at tanong ko, section 7, but what particular or specific provision of section 7? 7 point?
Yeah, so protection, Your Honor, we have here 7.3. And also,
Yung protection po ay part lang dyan, no? Ang 7.6 po yung pinag-usapan natin dito. So, kung dito pa lang, Mr. Chair, no, I would like to emphasize na huwag tayong magbulahan dito kasi I traveled sea, land, air just to be able to catch up. Today, I traveled 2 hours from Siargao by sea, another 2.5 from Surigao City to Butuan by land, another 1 hour and 20 minutes by air from Butuan to Manila. Kaya gusto ko hindi tayo magbulahan dito kasi dapat nakapahinga kami ngayon pero nandito tayo. So, nasusunod niyo ba po? Yes or no? Yung buong provision ng Section 7.6 ng Grid Code na pinaghirapan ni Prof. Wally.
yeah, for the section 7.6, Your Honor, this is about,
Mr.
let's say,
Chair.
for seven.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
7.6, Mr. Chair. Yung buong Section 7.6. Mahaba po yung 7.6. Kasama na po dyan yung ELD, MLD. Hindi nyo nagawa yung ELD dahil sinabi mo kanina proteksyon. Talagang proteksyon. So yung buong 7.6 ba, nagawa pa ng
Mr. Chair, point of order. We would like to check whether or not yung mga resource persons natin under oath na ba?
What's the point of order of the good gentleman from?
Would like to check, Mr. Chair, yung mga resource persons freely undertaken their oath.
We haven't taken their oath, so we'll be asking all the resource speakers to stand up, and we'll be taking the oath of all the invited guests. Comsec.
Oh. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, please state your name. Do solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am emphasizing 7.6.
Say meron sa
Mr. Chair, dahil nandito lahat yung problema natin sa tatlong magkasunod na blackout, nasa 7.6 po yung problema. Dahil at the end of the day, I will not point my finger to anyone at fault. Sinasabi natin, Mr. Chair, na may penalty po yung maituro ng ERC. But I am telling this body, Mr. Chair, ERC is not in the business of just collecting penalties. We are in the business of securing we are ERC's mandate, no, is to ensure, including DOE, is to ensure na wala pong ganitong mangyayari. Kahit paulit-ulit po nating put in jail yung nakapatay ng tao, hindi na po nabubuhay yung kanyang pinatay. That's the point I am raising. Kaya at the end of the day, bottom line, I am recommending some amendment of the grid code. Prof, dagdagan na natin. Kasi may mga provision tayo na hindi sinunod, hindi in-execute, at mayroon tayong dapat idagdag na provision. Kanina, Mr. Chair, no, alam ko na magdi-deny yung mga parties na involved. I am not here to argue anyone. Ang sinasabi ko lang, nakabase ako sa aking konklusyon, may mali po dito ang system operator. Kung titingnan nyo, Prof. Wally can confirm this, kung titingnan nyo yung mga provision ng 7.6 ng kabuuan, dapat kasi magkaiba yung transmission service provider at saka system operator. Can you confirm that, Prof. Wally, Mr. Chair?
Sa
kalakaran po ng electricity industry sa buong mundo, Pilipinas na lang po ngayon ang practically magkasama po ang transmission operator at ang system operator.
Iyon po ang punto ko. The grid code was drafted. Kaya kung babasahin mo, the transmission operator will inform the system operator. Nakaprint po yan na magkaiba. But in our case, kayo-kayo lang eh. Kaya pwede ninyong hindi ipakita yung actual na data. Pwede ninyong, I'm not saying na ginawa niyo to. Ang sinasabi ko lang, pwede ninyong idoktor yung mga data para mapagtakpan yung mga kamalian, mga violation sa grid code. That's one point for the record, Mr. Chair. I'm recommending the review not only of our grid code, but yung franchise natin or yung IPIRA natin, talagang ihiwalay sila para walang takipan dito. Dapat magkahiwalay yung grid transmission system operator at saka transmission service provider at saka yung SO. Dapat magkahiwalay. At titingnan natin kung kakayanin ni Transco. Now, ibaling ko muna yung tanong ko sa ERC. Sinasabi ni ERC, magkakaroon tayo ng technical audit. My question is, mayroon bang kakayahan technically ang ERC na titingnan lahat yung transmission system, yung grid natin at kanilang mapagtanto kung may mali, kung compliant sa grid code o wala. May tao ba ngayon na chair muna ang ERC technical people na kayang tingnan yung mga protection natin na nakasaad sa grid code na very specific?
ERC?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yung huling technical audit po na ginawa ng ERC was in 2020. So kaya naman po pero through consultants, Mr. Chair. So nag-engage ng consultant to do it. Internally, hindi po we don't have enough manpower to do it po.
Yun na Mr. Chair ang punto ko. Kasi magsasayang tayo ng oras kung ang line of questioning ko, paaminin ko talaga. Hindi talaga amin eh. So kaya didiretso na lang ako whether sa my conclusion, whether you admit or not, mayroong pagkukulang dito sa system operation. Kaya ikaw ang gusto kong Pero bago ko ibigay yung mga recommendation ko, kasi babalik ako airport eh. Wala nga akong damit na dala. So, ano ba talaga ang nangyari? Bakit hindi nagkaroon ng ELD? Nung bumagsak yung isang planta, supposed to be section 7.6, magkaroon ng automatic. May problema ba kayo sa protection setting ninyo?
Yes,
At hindi naka-trigger?
NGCP?
Yes, Mr. Chair. What happened was we have actually UFR or the ALD protection. We have readings, and we even have SIPs along Negros Panay submarine cable. What happened was after the tripping of the multiple plants, it was followed by
Mr. Chair, sorry I would like to cut you short. Ang pinag-usapan natin dito yung first tripping po, hindi yung multiple. Kasi kung pag-usapan natin yung multiple, kung ibigay lang ni Chair yung oras, kahit 4 na oras pa tayo dito, mas marami kayong violation doon. So, dito lang sa first tripping, ako lineman ako. Ito yung poste. 7 kaming lineman. 7. Ngayon, ang bigat ng poste ay kinakaya naming 7. Eh, natapilok yung isang lineman. Eh, di babagsak kaming lahat kasi hindi na namin kaya. That's the cascading. So, ang tinatanong ko dito, anong reaction ng system after bumagsak yung isang planta? Kasi supposed to be 7.6, may reaction yung ating normally magkakaroon niya ng automatic load dropping. Bakit walang ELD?
Yes, Mr. Chair. For the first tripping of PDC Unit 1 at 1206, the lowest frequency recorded was only at 59.83 hertz, which is not enough to activate the UFR or the under frequency relay, wherein the first level was set at 59.1 hertz.
Can you set the specific setting nung protection relay? What is the specific setting of that? And saan siya located? Do you have with you the single line diagram of the Panay transmission system? Then point to this honorable chamber. Saan nyo nilagay? In what portion? Ilang district ba yung Panay grid? Ilang district? Saan doon sa mga district yun nakalagay yung iskida ninyo? At saan nakalagay doon yung mga protection relay? That supposed to be triggers the automatic load dropping para hindi mag-collapse yung grid. That is how the grid code was designed by Prof. Wally. Na bago ka mag-manual, automatic muna. Kasi may natanggal na planta eh. May natanggal na. Okay, saan? I-point out. Do you have the single line diagram? Dito makikita natin. Siya na yan, ay tama ba yung location?
NGCP?
Hindi nyo may plus yung single line diagram. Wala kayong ano. Para makita talaga natin saan ninyo nilagay yung mga protection na yon.
Yeah, yung map. Yeah, but the map.
Baka sa area ng Aklan yung problema, yung protection mo, nandito lang sa Bacolod. Eh, magre-react. So, saan? Single line diagram nung transmission.
Yes, Your Honor. Unfortunately, we don't have in the presentation material, what we provided was just the map of the entire Visayas. But if you want, Mr. Chair, we can provide the list of those feeders with the under frequency relays and all the levels and the settings already in place prior to that 12.
Okay, ganito na lang. Saang feeder bilong yung planta na bumagsak noong alas 12 noong January to? Saang feeder? At ano ang voltahe ng transmission line na yan? Eh dapat memorize mo yun. Ikaw yung head doon eh.
Yeah, for the PDC Unit 1, Mr. Chair, it's connected to the Iloilo substation. Facing the
Ilang kilometro yung Iloilo substation to the power plant?
It's within their premises, Mr. Chair. The Iloilo
Within their
substation.
premises.
Yeah.
Yung protection relay na tinutukoy natin, pinag-usapan, nandyan din nakalagay.
Mr. Chair, if we're talking about the under frequency relays, we don't include the feeders with power plants connected. We only include the feeders.
Saan nyo nilagay yung I'm not saying na under frequency relay lang ha. Kasi medyo kung matandaan ko yung pinag-usapan yung grid code noon, ay hindi lang yan. Kasi mayroon tayong regulating reserve. Am I correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
we have.
So, ang trabaho ni regulating reserve, pag may bumagsak na planta, bababa yung frequency, sasaluin ni regulating reserve. Eh hindi talaga magte-trigger yon. Dahil babalik yung frequency more or less normal. Eh alam naman natin, ano yung plus-minus factor niya? Plus, minus, frequency natin.
Frequency is plus minus 0.3 hertz.
Okay. Plus 3 minus 3. Hindi talaga magte-trigger yon dahil sinasalo kaagad ni regulating reserve. Saan yung planta na inyong kinontrata as regulating reserve? Saan siya banda?
We have in Negros and in Leyte.
Negros and Leyte. No, bumagsak yung isang planta. Nakapasok ba yung regulating mo?
Yes, there's a response for the regulation.
So ito na tayo. Hindi ko na kayo paaminin. Kaya sinabi nyo normal. Dahil ang protection ninyo ay nakabase lang sa frequency. isa lang yan sa mga faktor eh. Prof. Wale, correct me if I'm wrong kasi alam ni Prof. Wale na PE ako, pa-engineer lang, no? Ah, ang, Mr. Chair, no? Babalikan ko yung punto na yan. Babalikan ko kasi napaka-importante yung punto na yan kasi we are finding solution. So, second round, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Dago. Proceeding, can we hear from Honorable Defensor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I have with me the presentation of NGCP, one of the slides, and it reads, proximate cause, multiple unplanned outages of power plants, no transmission issue. DOE, Transco, do you agree? Yes or no lang?
As reported po ng mga GenCos, no.
Transco, do you agree that there is no transmission issue? Yes or no lang?
If I may qualify, Your Honor, kasi the transmission also would include voltage. And therefore, there is also a problem with the voltage which is connected to the
But do you
transmission.
agree? Proximate cause, multiple unplanned outages of power plants, no transmission issue. Do you agree?
No, sir.
Thank you. That's a good starting point for the committee, Mr. Chair, in drafting our committee report. And for NGCP, on January 2 at 12:06, there was no significant incident notice issued and no reports to DOE, which usually receives reports every 30 minutes, every day. Can NGCP tell us why there was no significant incident notice and no reports from 10:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the afternoon on January 2 at 12:06?
NGCP?
Sir, for the significant incident report, we have a criteria in the PGC. So yung po kasing tripping is based on PGC, significant incident reports comprises of number 1, multiple tripping of generator with ALD. So yung case po kasi nito, tripping of single generator without ALD. Although dun sa part po ng PGC may nakalagay may nakalagay na some others that may be included as defined by IGMC.
Okay, Transco, do you agree?
Ano po,
No.
2.7.
DOE, do you agree?
Again po, based dun sa mga nakalap naming information, no.
DOE and Transco disagrees. Can you tell us why there were no reports to DOE from 10:30 to 3 p.m.? NGCP.
NGCP?
Ba't nawala bigla yung mga reports every 30 minutes? Simula alas 10:30 hanggang alas 3 ng hapon.
Yes sir, are you talking the Viber update po ba?
Yes.
Opo. Regarding dun sa Viber, tingnan po natin kasi semi-automatic po yun. Kaya nung afternoon na po siya, napunta lahat kung mapansin nyo.
Di ako naniniwala doon.
Hindi po, you will be checking sir kung ba't naputol po ng 10:30.
Ngayon nyo lang i-check, ibig sabihin ilang araw na nakalipas, di nyo alam bakit wala kayong report sa DOE ng 5 oras? Eh may nag-shutdown ng isang planta?
Opo.
Nag-report lang kayo simula nung nag-multiple tripping?
Yes sir, yung tripping po is 12:06. So kung yung problem po is 10:30, I think hindi pa po siya related.
Chair, kung nagsisinungaling yan, dali mo sa final committee report ha?
Opo.
Okay.
Wait, Honorable Defensor, let me just medyo i-clear natin. Before that, the last message was 10:30, correct? As 10 o'clock, 9:30 nag-report sila?
They reported at 9:30, they reported at 10.
So every 30 minutes from 10 o'clock, they were reporting. But from 10 o'clock onwards till 3 p.m., no more reporting.
There are no reports from 10:30 to 3 o'clock. In fact, if I may emphasize, I personally requested in the Viber group the posting of those data.
Okay. So Honorable Defensor, I'm just like trying to clarify. So
That's the most crucial period.
exactly.
Mr. Chair.
Although it's not really a requirement, but it's a It's an agreement made between DOE, NGCP, ERC, and all those members of the Viber group, mainly because of the incident that happened back in April. And that's the reason why they created that Viber group. So what Honorable Defensor is just asking NGCP is, what is the reason why, how come from 10:30 till 3 p.m., there were no 30-minute updates?
For the Viber group po, actually hindi ko po masabi ngayon yung reason kung wala. Pero for the updates, upon tripping po ng mga planta, may SMS updates po separate as through SMS advisory. Every time na magti-trip na planta, nagpapadala po kami na separate. Required po kasi yun.
Mr. Chair, we could disregard the Viber group if this is not a matter of national interest. May nag-shutdown ng isang major planta na isang unit. Doon pa sila, hindi nag-report sa DOE, yung head ng industry. Diba, that's the most unlikely situation that you will not act and inform the Department of Energy.
Point of information, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Honorable Fernandez.
Maybe remind our resource speaker to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Otherwise, we will be compelled to cite you in contempt. Yun lang po, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable
Mr. Chair, can I
Fernandez.
request for
Yes,
a
Honorable
written
Defensor.
explanation from the National Grid Corporation addressed to the committee, copy furnished the DOE and the ERC? Why
Yes.
there was no report based on their informal arrangement from 10:30 to 3 p.m.?
Yes, for NGCP to submit that report. And also, who was handling that Viber message?
The head office po sa Central Grid Operations kasi po generate po yun sa system and then i-convert pa po kasi to Viber. Yung generation po noon automatic. Pero yung convert,
Di ba dapat mas automatic siya? Ngayon may nangyayari na?
yung po kasing conversion to Viber kasi po yung medium na ni-request. Kaya i-convert po siya into Viber. Doon po sa, meron po kaming Central Grid Operations. Sila po yung magkukonvert.
Okay, so just please include the explanations in the report. Yes, Honorable Defensor, you may
Yeah,
continue.
Mr. Chair, may I request ASEC Marasigan to be recognized?
Yes, DOE Asik Marisigan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm one of those monitoring this report. And just to cite how fast they can generate the report. Now it's at 12:43. The report that should have been provided was 12:30. It was posted at 12:38. So it's a matter of 8 minutes. Thank you.
When there is no significant incident right now. Mr. Chair, we will wait for that written explanation.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, lastly, going to ERC, I understand that there was an investigation conducted for the April 2023 incident. Can I ask the ERC, what's the result of the independent investigation by ERC to address future blackouts such as the January 2 blackout?
Yes, Ma'am Dimalanta, our chairperson of yours.
Thank you, Your Honor. The April incident was investigated by the Interim Grid Management Committee. This was the group of experts. They submitted their recommendation to the ERC. We facilitated the discussion with NGCP because all of the recommendations required actions of NGCP, including coordination with the generating plants, several simulations that were required of NGCP of several scenarios, contingencies. And as I mentioned earlier, as of the November report of NGCP, they indicated all of these measures, almost all, I think only one remained as completed.
So do you agree with me by a yes or no answer that among your recommendation that NGCP coordinate with the stakeholders, they failed to coordinate for the January 2 incident?
From the current records, yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Defensor. But also, if I may ask Chairperson Dimalanta, you said that the Interim Grid Management Committee who did the investigation made simulations.
No, Your Honor, they recommended the conduct of simulations by.
But there was there any simulations done after the recommendation?
Yes,
there were.
based on the report of NGCP, yes, Your Honor.
So based
Including
on their
the
report,
undervoltage.
was that confirmed by ERC that they really did the simulations?
Because in the November, it was a short report that they submitted in November. We ordered them to submit the detailed reports. They have not submitted the detailed reports, Your Honor.
How long was that?
November was the short report. We required them again, when was that? January. January, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Dimalanta. So proceeding, we have Honorable Manuel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, nais ko pong balikan ang binanggit kanina ng resource person natin from Eleco 3 na if I can recall correctly, ang nabanggit po ay static compensator.
A static bar compensator po.
Yes, can the resource person explain ano po ang purpose nun para din mas ma-enlighten ang komite at ating mga kababayan?
Yes, Attorney Balsomo.
Actually, Mr. Chair, Honorable Manuel, the static bar compensator is among the instruments mentioned in the grid code to control the voltage and to achieve and manage the reactive power to ensure integrity and security in the grid. But to make the explanation simple, this is actually a regulating a smart device instrument that must be introduced in the grid in order to ensure that in case of voltage variation brought about by any incident in the grid, the generators will not automatically trip, and the integrity of the grid will be maintained.
Okay, Mr. Chair, na-mention din kanina na ang plano pa ng NGCP ay ma-set up ito by 2025. Can I confirm?
Yes, correct. This is based on our conversation with the NGC people on the ground. That's why, to add, Honorable Manuel, we asked them why wait for 2025, given that the situation right now is emergency in nature, and power security is a matter of national security. There must be a sense of urgency that this smart instrumentation must be introduced in the grid soonest.
Can we ask NGCP? How come it will be the date for the the static bar will be put in place by 2025?
Yes, sir. The target is 2025, second quarter.
Why? The question is why? Is there any other instrument that acts as a status bar, which does the same thing that is already in place? And how come it'll take 2 more years before it can get installed? Yes, NGCP.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Yes, static.
This static or STATCOM is part of our voltage improvement project 2. It's a project package consisting of several other reactive compensation equipment, and this is among the projects that we filed for approval. And this the second quarter 2025 completion is considered the complete process. We are in the procurement stage, so the realistic completion of this STATCOM would be second quarter of 2025.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'm curious kung meron bang kahit anumang pamamaraan na mapapabilis iyan, lalo na kung binabanggit na ating mga distribution utilities na napakatagal pa bago or kuantay natin yung nabanggit na timeline ng NGCP.
NGCP?
Mr. Chair, also this the project package is still awaiting approval before we can proceed for the implementation.
Approval from?
We filed it part of our regulatory application, Your Honor.
When was the regulatory application filed? For the static bar? Or for that package?
Your Honor, it was filed in October 2022, Your Honor. Sorry, sir.
When we first arrived, we said we'd be more. And we were. We said we'd give you more. And we did. We even source 100% of our electricity from renewable energy, all while having the lowest rates in the country. But wait, no, that's not enough. This year, we're going to do more. But what does do more mean? It means more upgrades. More trees, more mangroves, more fingerlings, more crops, and more fruits. More of her, more of him, more of you, more of us, more of her, him, you, and us, making this world a better place for them. More power is going to do more, because with more power comes great sustainability.
Iloilo City's transformative platform, known as Wheels by Mayor Jerry P. Treñas, made a huge difference. Wheels stands for welfare, health, education, environment, livelihood, and sustainability. This highlights the remarkable projects and efforts that have been driving the city towards a more sustainable and empowered future. With Wheels, we had a long journey through the years, and now we reached our destination of empowering Ilonggos for a sustainable future. This is Wheels, the arrival. Welfare is at the heart of the Wheels initiative. The eye care centers provide essential services to the community, with 5 operational centers and 6 more under construction. While the redevelopment of markets like Arevalo, Haro, and La Paz aims to enhance the city's urban landscape and convenient customer and merchant experience, with budgets allocated to support each project. Furthering its commitment to the welfare of its citizens, Iloilo City plans to construct a state-of-the-art legislative building. Additionally, the City Hall employees will have access to affordable housing with low-rise condominium units, while the urban poor will benefit from a condominium building under the Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino program. The COA Bodega, a modern storage facility, will streamline operations, while new facilities for BJMP and PNP ensures better facilities for law enforcement. Balay Dalayunan, a cultural landmark, will provide a space for artistic expression and community gatherings. Payment centers like Marymart and the Atrium, SM City, and Megaworld will bring greater convenience to the people. Also, the Iloilo City Dog Pound and Animal Shelter at Kalahunan Sanitary Landfill in Mandurriao District is serving as home for stray or rescue dogs. The health component of Wheels has made significant strides. The San Isidro Dialysis Center offers life-saving treatments to 84 patients weekly. The newly expanded Iloilo City Hospital has a capacity of 100 beds and provides accessible healthcare to its residents. Immunization services play a vital role in maintaining public health, with substantial progress made in administering the measles, rubella, and bivalent oral polio vaccines. COVID-19 vaccinations have been widely distributed across age groups, contributing to the city's fight against the pandemic. We also established a swab center. Iloilo City recognizes the importance of inclusive education in shaping a better future. With substantial investments in schools, modules, and laptops, the Boost for Education program empowers teachers and students alike. New courses at ICCC and TIIC expand educational opportunities, while scholarship supports the dreams of deserving students. The construction of district libraries and the introduction of various training programs contribute to a knowledge-rich environment. Through skill development and literacy initiatives, Iloilo City ensures a brighter future for its residents. The redevelopment of plazas, koi pond beautification pots, and fish dispersal programs enhance the city's biodiversity and environment. The Tree Park Network, Beach Forest, Mangrove Eco Park, and Native Tree Growing Project exemplify the city's commitment to environmental conservation. Various gardening projects and cleanup initiatives promote eco-consciousness among citizens. The livelihood component of Wheels supports economic growth and self-sufficiency. The Business One-Stop Shop promotes ease of doing business, while the Uswag Negosyo Academy, or UNA, empowers aspiring entrepreneurs with knowledge and support. The UNA program, Terminal Market Rehabilitation and Vocational Training Initiatives, provide opportunities for entrepreneurship and skill development. We also made a big leap as we rehabilitate the Iloilo Terminal and Central Markets. Lastly, the sustainability aspects of Wheels drives progress and efficiency. All of the aforementioned programs and projects shall be sustained beyond Mayor Jerry Peña's leadership. The legacy shall live for our children's future. Wheels has united Iloilo City towards a future that is not only sustainable, but also full of promise. Through the collective efforts of government, businesses, and citizens, Iloilo City is paving the way for progress, welfare, and harmony. Thank you for joining us as we embark on this arrival of empowerment and sustainability. Together, we have built a better tomorrow for Iloilo City and beyond.
Second, it has been moved and seconded that the calling of the roll be dispensed with. There being no objection, the same is hereby approved. Before we start with our meeting, may we request Representative Baronda to lead the group in prayer.
Let us put ourselves in the holy presence.
My apologies. December 2022 to the ERC, Your Honor.
Honorable Manuel.
Okay. Mr. Chair, sa bahagi po na ating mga distribution utilities, ano po briefly, ano ang direct impact ng ganitong katagal na wala pa rin itong static bar compensator na dapat ay meron na sanang NGCP?
Honorable Manuel, Honorable Chair, like what we have said last April incident during our technical meeting with NGCP, without this necessary equipment in the grid, which is actually required under the grid code, it would again be a matter of time before a massive blackout would again happen in Panay subgrid, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Another question, Mr. Chair, dahil na-mention din kanina na may iba pang mga bahagi ng grid code na hindi naman talaga nasusunod ng NGCP. So, can the resource person give a few more examples kung ano yung mga nabanggit?
Yung isa po na-mention ko kanina, with respect sa ancillary services. Na-comply ba ito ng NGCP based sa grid code po? Kasi yung nakalagay po sa grid code, this was designed na kung masunod, yung integrity and security of the grid would be ensured. So one thing, bakit nagkaroon ng collapse yung system natin after the tripping ng isang planta? There is a provision sa grid code how to ensure na kahit na mangyari ang ganitong scenario, the grid will continue to operate normally. So we are paying actually, Honorable Manuel, for ancillary services, whether utilized po ito o hindi. So yung natin, I have mentioned kanina, we are paying almost 1 billion pesos for 2023 alone for ancillary services for situations like this, supposedly. So kung sinunod ng grid operator natin yung requirement na, for example, yung sa contingency reserve natin under the grid code, it should be not less than the largest operating unit sa grid natin to ensure na in case na mag-trip yung isang generator natin, yung supply natin will remain. Kasi it will be replaced by our ancillary services, yung regulating reserves natin, yung contingency reserve natin, at saka yung dispatching reserves. These were designed to ensure the continuous operation of the grid despite untoward incidents sa grid operation, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr. Chair, regarding the transmission lines naman, kasi nga based sa mga naging presentations kanina, isa sa mga na pick up natin, merong simultaneous tripping ng mga transmission lines. So Mr. Chair, addressing this question to NGCP, normal ba talaga na, halimbawa kasi pwedeng may mangyari isa, ganyan. Pero ito, several transmission lines sabay-sabay. So, yan ba ay isang senaryo na aasahan natin ay parang mangyari lang in ordinary time? Or meron bang nakikitang trend doon? Is this reflective of a deeper problem? So, can NGCP respond?
Yes, for this one, there's a possibility if we don't have corrective improvements. And may I say, Mr. Chair, that these improvements are not limited only to transmission. It could also be in the generation and the other players in the industry. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, mula dun sa sagot, kasi dahil nga ang buong problem naman, it involves multiple entities eh. Hindi naman pwedeng kung meron tayong papel doon sa naging problema, sisisihin lang natin yung iba. Mr. Chair, tingin natin ito ay naging isang epekto ng kung gaano ka deregulated ngayon ng ating electricity or yung paano natin ina-ensure ang kuryente para sa ating mga kababayan. Kasi based sa ganitong response, still ini-insist ng NGCP na or hanggang ngayon hugas kamay pa din siya, Mr. Chair, kahit na hinihingi natin talaga yung maayos na mga sagot, no, for us to really move forward. Now, Mr. Chair, balik doon sa isa ding na-mention kanina, paano magiging mas equitable ang ina-allow na capacity among distribution utilities kapag may mga ganitong nangyayari. So, meron po bang maimumungkahi sa komite ang mga like co-op natin? Kasi nga, kung sino yung pwedeng 30%, sino yung 50%, ganyan. Meron bang mga pamantayan in mind na pwede nang mai-recommend?
Actually, Honorable Manuel,
Attorney Balsamo, for an orderly conduct, please wait until I recognize you before you.
I apologize. Mr.
Yes. That will already be your last question, Honorable Manuel. Yes,
Thank you, Mr.
Attorney
Chair.
Balsamo, if you can answer.
Actually, Honorable Chair, Honorable Manuel, we have submitted our recommendations with the NEA together with our narrative report, which we believe were also forwarded to the DOE. And among our recommendations there is for the updating of the UFR, the under frequency relay settings ng NGCP. Usually it is the NGCP na nagsiset po nito. In case na magkaroon na imbalance between supply and demand, based sa automatic load dropping, sino ba yung mauna, second, yung mga priorities? These are all set by the NGCP. And they should be periodically updated, Honorable Manuel. Kasi hindi naman pwede na yung yung last dito sa priority will remain last. So dapat may nagkaroon siya ng rotational na schedule. Yun yung nangyayari. But right now, to the best of our knowledge, hindi po kami na-update regarding this schedule of UFR from the grid operator natin.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I think Yusek Sharon would want to add something.
I just wanted to add on the transmission side, kung ano yung, because we've been mentioning the Cebu Negros Panay.
Yeah.
The Cebu Negros Panay, just to update the honorable members, it was originally scheduled on 2020. And now it has been moved 10 times. Itong estimated time of completion, 10 times na. And when the April 2023 blackout happened, NGCP committed, I think in public pa, and in Congress also, that they will finish on August 2023. Tapos, nangyari to. But the next commitment, the 10th commitment is, yes, March 2024. In addition to the CNP project, there are 13 or 12 other projects that even if you have a strong backbone, but your substations are not upgraded, then hindi mama-maximize din yun. And I can give the committee a list of all these Western Visayas projects na iba dyan 5 times na na-delay, 4 times, iba pa for the future pa. But there are basic 12 or 13 projects that I think siguro yan, one solution just to make sure that it doesn't happen again is to fast track this and review the TDP and the scheduling, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I-add ko lang,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, that the reason usually is right of way and permit.
Right.
But I've been meeting with NGCP and all the agencies concerned. By December na last year pa lang, our last meeting with our transmission committee, there is no permitting, no right of way issues anymore. It's a matter of NGCP completing the construction actually, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Yusek Sharon. The committee will be waiting for that list of transmission projects that have been delayed and have not been completed yet. Continuing, we have Honorable Goriseta.
Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to ask, this question is for NGCP. If you still stand with your commitment and as promised that the Cebu Negros Panay Phase 3 backbone matatapos by March. Kasi even the governor, kami lahat, no, in our interviews, sinasabi is 3 months from now. So 3 months is approximately fast approaching as what Yusek Sharon mentioned earlier. So do you still stand with your earlier pronouncement na matatapos by end of March?
Yes, NGCP.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we stand to that commitment, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Also, my next question is for the SO. Yung sa SO, ilan ba kayo nagmaman sa Visayas na SO room? Ikaw lang mag-isa or tatlo?
Mr. Chair, for the dispatchers, there are 3 in the control room. One is for the transmission, one is for generation, and the other one is the grid dispatch manager.
Okay, thank you. Because baka meron dito language barrier within central office dito or sa inyo, no, with all due respect sa inyo, no. But anyway, nakita ko rin, no, as what Congressman Dagook and Congressman Defensor mentioned, with all due respect to Professor Del Mundo, no, that either we should revisit the grid code or baka hindi lang sinusunod, no, it's not being followed. And also I've noticed yung NGCP parang hindi rin recognize yung DOE, no, as their regulating body, no, in some way, and even ERC na hindi kayo nag-communicate, you don't work hand in hand, no, parang walang parang may ganon may missing lag, may missing malaking lag within you and sila, no. So sana maayos ito, no, because we cannot continue doing this pag walang answerable, no. So siguro yun lang, Mr. Chair. And lastly, yung sa sinabi ni GM Attorney Balsomo, siguro masama na natin yan. We are been paying yung ancillary services, malaking yung bayad natin for the Cebu Negros Panay Phase 3 plus yung recommendation, no. So siguro baka pwede natin yan kukunin kasi until now hindi pa na-deliver yung mga sinasabi nito na mga electric cooperatives. At the same time, yung mga stakeholders na dapat matatapos ito kasi pass on to nagbabayad na yung mga tao, and if ever siguro we demand, no, a refund for those who were affected in this 4-day power blackout. Yun na lang siguro yung pwede natin mabigay na konsuelo sa kanila. So that would be all, Mr. Chair, and thank you, my dear colleagues here in the House.
Thank you, Honorable Goriseta. Continuing, we recognize Honorable Castro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. So, i-follow up ko lang po yung question ni Rep. Manuel kanina about doon sa StatCom. So, the NGC submitted for approval sa ERC ng 2022. So, ano po ba yung time frame para ma-approve ito ng ERC? Kasi ayon sa DU, importante po ito, no, to prevent future na blackouts or whatever na mangyari.
Yes, ERC.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pina-check ko nga po nung narinig ko po yung statement po ng NGC. Pina-check ko po yung status. The filings were made in 2022 with other Visayas Voltage Improvement Project. It's under evaluation po, pero we'll bump this up, will accelerate the review. Lalo na po yung may isa dun sa mga filings na yon, naka 99% completion na naman sila. So mukhang umaandar na po yung isang project. So we'll fast track po the review para po mailabas na po yung approval.
Yes. Ay, kasi Mr. Chair, parang natatagalan po kasi ako doon sa 2025 na target na completion. Kasi kung nire-reason nila kayo, tinuturo kayo dahil kayo po hindi rin kayo hindi nyo rin na-fast track. Tingin ko yung pag-approve. So baka pwede nating maiusog yung target nila na 2025 first quarter. So ano po pa, Mr. Chair, yung time frame ng ERC to approve that?
Yes, ERC.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yung pong cases na nabanggit ko, the team just committed now na matatapos po yung evaluation within the month. So pwede po namin isalang for approval by next month. Pero ang gusto ko lang pong i-highlight, even the completion period po kasi or the construction period, it's really based on NGCP's time frame. So in their application po, ang nilagay na po talaga nila dun sa time frame ay more than 2 years na construction period. So baka hindi ko lang po alam kung kaya po ng NGCP from the time we issue the approval na agahan pa po yung time frame.
Thank you, ERC. So ano pong masasabi ng ng NGCP? Can you make it earlier? Baka pwedeng end ng 2024 or earlier than that? Kung halimbawa, matatapos within the year yung sinasabing pag-approve. So can you yung target ninyo, pwede nyo bang gawing earlier?
Yes, Attorney Octub.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the question, Congresswoman Castro. Yes, we will revisit our timeline. And if possible, we will compress the dates between now and the second quarter of 2025 for us to finish the project earlier. But again, I also would like to go back to the statement of Chair Mona de Malanta that, in fact, we have already started the implementation of the project, even if this has still to be approved by ERC. So with that, that would already strongly indicate our eagerness to finish the project ahead of time. So as to the request, whether we can finish the project earlier than the original target date, we will revisit the timeline if we can compress some activities in order to finish the project. We are willing to sit down with the cooperatives on this matter, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Honorable Castro.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Kailangan natin kahit pa paano makapagkuha tayo ng resolution, ma-resolve itong part na ito dahil ito yung recommendation ng DU, no, to prevent yung mga future na problems natin sa blackout. Kaya next, kasi po dito sa Luzon, particular sa Metro Manila, Mr. Chair, pag nagkakaroon ng generation deficiency, nagkakaroon ng ALD at saka yung MLD para masalba yung grid at hindi mag-total blackout. Pero bakit po kaya sa Iloilo at Panay hindi ito nagawa ng ng NGCP? Kasi kung nagagawa dito sa Metro Manila, hindi po total. Kapag manual po, 'di ba, nagkakaroon ng rotational brownout. Pag automatic, ito system system naka-embed na 'yon sa system o programmed na kumbaga. So automatic muna bago manual. So bakit hindi po 'yun nagagawa? Kasi natatakot po ako, Mr. Chair, baka pag nangyari na ang katulad na nangyari sa Panay dito sa Metro Manila ay talagang grabe, talagang disaster ang mangyayari. Kaya kailangan natin tanungin bakit nagagawa ito sa Metro Manila at hindi nyo nagawa doon sa Panay Island.
Yes, NGCP.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Nung 12:06 po, nung nawala po yung PEDC Unit 1, bumaba po yung generation pero po nakakonect po yung Panay sa Negros and kahit po yung Luzon nagbigay din po sa Visayas via the HPDC link. So kaya po yung system during that time, yung tinatawag namin operating margin, yun po yung sobra sa supply kumpara sa demand, nasa acceptable level pa rin po, kaya po normal. So yun po yung reason bakit po kami hindi nag-implement ng MLD or manual load dropping or yung rotational brownout po ang impact po na.
Mr. Chair, di ba nangyari na yan nung last time? Di ba? Hindi lang naman ito ngayon nangyari January eh. So ano ba yung pagkakaiba nung last time na nangyari yung brownout doon sa lugar as compared do sa January na blackout? So ganun din po ba yung ginawa ninyo? Kasi alam ko parang nagkaroon din kayo ng MLD noon.
Nung ano po, yung last time po, bale, after po ng pagkalas ng isang planta, so cascading na po, ibig po, maramihan na po agad yung pumalas na planta. Yung ngayon po, yung pagkakaiba, nung 12:06, isang planta pa lang po yung nagka-unplanned shutdown, yung PEDC Unit 1, and normal pa rin po yun until 14:19 or 2:19 PM po, kung saan doon na po yung maraming planta. Actually po, lahat po ng online na planta sa Panay nawala. So after po dyan, dun po ngayon nag-implement nung unti-unting pag-restore. So dun po na-experience nung nire-restore na po yung system kasi pati po yung mga loads nawala din po. So kapag pumapasok na po yung ibang planta, dun po rin namin ina-accommodate yung mga loads. So dun po sa period na yon after 14:19 or 2:19 PM or actually 3:07 PM nung nawala totally yung Panay. After po noon, nung nag-restore, doon po na-experience yung limited na accommodation ng mga loads.
Okay, Mr. Chair. So that is very technical ano. So ano ba yung dapat na nakapigil sa ganung pangyayari po? Kung kayo po yung hindi niyo na control yung situation, pero ano tingin niyo yung pwedeng makapigil sa ganung sitwasyon? Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
Yes. Opo. Una po, yung mga naghahanda po yung grid no sa N-1. Ano po yung isang ng N-1 kapag po nawala yung isang, let's say, planta, isang unit. Yung nangyari po ng 2:19 PM, hindi lang po isang planta yung nawala. Marami po. So lahat po in fact na online sa Panay. So ang tanong po, paano po kaya makaka-survive ang system?
Mr. Chair, sabi niya Mr. Chair, maraming planta ang nawala. So bakit maraming planta ang nawala? So anong naging reason po?
Ma'am, ang sinasabi lang, Honorable Castro, I think NGCP is just saying that nung nawala yung first plant, yung PDEC 1, that was yung nag-trigger na sa inyo ng N-1, is that correct?
Oo.
Na condition. And then, the way I'm seeing the situation, within 2 hours, the reason why NGCP was not moving was because based on what they presented, it was still in a normal state. And that's the reason why I guess NGCP didn't do anything. And all of a sudden, bumigay ang PCPC, which was hiningan ng NGCP na iangat yung MVAR nila para ma-regulate yung voltage at frequency so that hindi masyado magulo yung grid. So, since bumagsak yung PCPC na nag-regulate ng voltage at frequency, sunod-sunod na yung trippings. Hindi na kinayanan ng ibang plan. That's how I understood what NGCP was explaining a while.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
It's just that technically normal there's a definition in the grid code.
Yeah.
And I hope that we can base it there because if it is normal, then you don't do anything. But is it normal technically under the grid code, which is the Bible of all these operators.
Exactly.
And the experts here are here.
No, exactly.
I'm not.
That's what I was going to ask during
Yes,
my
Mr.
time of
Chair.
questioning.
Yes, Mr.
Yes,
Chair,
Honorable
kasi
Castro, please continue.
so yun na nga po, tinatanong ko kanina, bumigay yung mga planta and then kampante po ang NGCP na walang mangyayari. Pero normal din po ba na normal na isipin na walang mangyayari kung ganon? Kasi kung ano po ba yung definition natin ng sinasabi natin na normal? So kung sinasabi natin na malaki pa rin ang mataas pa rin na supply as regard dun sa demand. So ano ba yung margin na dapat kabahan tayo kahit na normal yung situation? Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Dun po sa kaninang ini-explain ko pong operating margin, meron pong prescribed levels doon para po masabing normal ang grid. So, yung level po ng regulating reserve, that's 4% of the demand. And then yung CR, yung contingency reserve po, yan po ay dapat sapat to arrest yung equal po yun sa pinakamalaking unit during that time. Tapos po, meron pa rin pong dispatchable reserve, equal din po yun sa pangalawang pinakamalaking generating unit online during that time.
Okay, so tingin nyo ba sapat yung na-generate o na-kontrata ninyo na reserves para dun sa sinasabi ninyo, no? Kasi totoo ba na nakakontrata kayo ng sapat na reserve para sa Visayas? Sapat po ba itong mga sinasabi ninyong reserve to tell na normal at within the limit lang po yung sinasabi natin na normal?
That will be your last question, Honorable Castro. Yes, NGCP, can you please answer? Yes, NGCP. Can I ask Honorable Castro to repeat the question? Ma'am?
Well, binabanggit po na NGCP, Mr. Chair, kanina yung iba't ibang mga reserves. So sinasabi natin, ano ba yung normal situation para hindi rin kabahan? Kasi merong mga normal situation na dapat forward looking din tayo na baka may mangyari. So meron po ba kayong meron po ba kayong tinatawag na sapat na reserves, especially dito sa Visayas? Kaugnay nung nyo po, no? Sinasabi yung mga reserves kanina.
So in other words, ang tinatanong ni Honorable Castro is whether your ancillary reserves is enough to be able to handle the grid in cases of situation na nangyari dito sa Panay. Yes, NGCP.
Yes, opo. Yung levels po kasi no nung pinabid nung CSP, yun po ay per interval, yun po ay per hour. So may mga schedules po siya, bago po siya per hour. Maybe we can just submit that information kasi wala pong isang figure kung titignan po natin in percent. Or let's say for one day, that's about 24 data in percent availability of that yung RR, CR, and DR.
No, the question is, sapat ba yung ancillary service natin to handle situations na nangyari sa Panay Island? I guess hindi sapat po, ma'am, mainly because it happened already, the trippings.
So
Yun lang
tingin ko,
naman
Mr.
yun eh.
Chair, kahit ibigay niya sa akin yung data, hindi sapat yung reserve. Kasi nag-cause siya ng brownout eh. 'Di ba? Logically, hindi sapat yung reserve niyo. Kahit na sinasabi niyo normal based doon sa mga inassign ninyo na normal percentage, hindi pa rin sapat. So yun po, Mr. Chair. So dapat may gawin doon ang NGCP.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Castro.
I
For second round?
Ayan.
Yes. Can I recognize ERC, Chair De Malanta?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we just want to correct, and since this is off record, that there are required levels in megawatts for the services. So NGCP, but it's correct that he said when they conducted their CSP, they did it on a per hour interval. But it's wrong to say that there are no required levels for each type of reserve.
Ma'am, sorry, who determines the levels?
ERC po.
ERC. And have they complied with the levels that they need to contract out for ancillary service?
Based on our records, there are not enough contracted reserves.
Can I throw it to NGCP? How come your contracted ancillary service are not enough?
If I may, Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
Attorney Yaktub.
That is correct. We were already required to conduct the competitive selection process for our procurement of ancillary services. Prior to the instruction to conduct the competitive selection process for the procurement of ancillary services, this used to be through direct contracting. Meaning we invite via publication in newspapers as to all generators who would like to provide ancillary services, and then we negotiate, and then we file it with the ERC for approval. The reason is that we are required, that is correct, under the grid code to procure a certain level depending on the type of the ancillary services. Now, in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, we were already required to discontinue the contracting of ancillary services through direct contracting. That was the instruction of the DOE under a department order issued, if I'm not mistaken, or circular. And so we
2022. 21, sorry. Sorry, when were you stopped doing the direct contracting of your ancillary service? What year?
if I'm not mistaken, the issuance of the DOE was 2019.
2019. Is that correct, DOE?
December 2019.
Yes, Chairperson Dimalanta.
Thank you. I think NGCP was referring to the 2019 DOE circular po, requiring them to procure via a competitive selection process. But that CSP was not complied with until 2022 when we issued the show cause order po to NGCP.
So I'll throw the question back to NGCP. How come you didn't comply and it took you 3 years before you conducted your CSP?
I may not have the necessary answer to bring this back to the commission, the committee, but we would like to because the issues are not only legal, but there are also technical issues that we wrote the DOE for the DOE to consider and maybe clarify in so far as if we can amend the circular and consider our points. So that was actually one of the reasons why from the time it was issued up to 2022, there was no CSP conducted. Nevertheless, while it was only in 2022 that the CSP was conducted, that also did not prevent us from continuing procuring ancillary services. So,
Mr. Chair, they question kasi the authority of DOE to regulate NGCP. They said we don't have any authority at that time. So that's why it took a long time.
Okay. Okay. So
we have letters, exchanges to prove that, sir.
So simpleng sagot, they did not recognize the power of DOE or the authority. Okay, thank you. Let's continue. I think
Mr. Chair,
yes.
Just a few more points.
Yes.
When NGCP has already conducted a CSP, this is what we would like to emphasize.
Yes.
We can conduct the CSP, and the CSP that was conducted in 2022, the terms of reference were approved by the Department of Energy. And so we have already complied with that. The one thing that we would like to emphasize,
Iwan ko na sa'yo one question.
one thing we would like to emphasize is that while we have conducted the CSP, the interest of the generators to join the CSP is beyond our control. So therefore, while we opened the entire requirement as provided by the code for the generators to submit offers if they are interested. Again, the end result of this is that it would still depend on the interest of the ancillary service providers. Of course, they are generators to join the ancillary services and provide ancillary services. So that's just one matter that we would like to emphasize, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, NGCP. We'll leave that
Mr. Chair,
issue.
quick
And yes.
interjection, please.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may we request that the nuance on the procurement, whether this is intentional or unintentional, so that there can be finger pointing and blaming others, be included in the report.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
further, Mr. Chair, may I inquire if the committee secretariat has boxing gloves? Because, Mr. Chair, if you have boxing gloves, then it will prevent your fingers from pointing at others. And we can recognize the problem so that we can have solutions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Exactly. Thank you for that, Honorable Garin. So let's leave that issue first. I think Honorable Benitez would want to further propound on that issue later during his time. Continuing, thank you, Honorable Castro. May I now, we now proceed, and I like to recognize Honorable Baronda.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, colleagues. Good afternoon once again. I just wanted to reiterate some other questions that has been raised by some of the members, my colleague. Mr. Chair, sa unang pagdinig tungkol sa blackout noong April 2023, itong load shedding or dropping ay narinig na din natin. Noong may problema sa Bacolod Silay Line, kinaumagahan may mga undervoltage na substation sa Panay at nag-trip ang power generation plants dahil sa undervoltage. Kaya during the August 15 hearing, sinabi ng NGCP na ilan sa mga safety net or hakbang ginawa nila. Ang tanong ko, review generator settings, ginawa niyo ba? Improve generation planning, improve information dissemination, effective use of emerging technologies, and information exchange. NGCP, nagawa niyo ba ito?
NGCP?
Yes, yung iba po doon tapos na po, yung iba for implementation pa po. So, yun po yung status ng mga recommendations. Kasi iba po long-term yung solution. Thank you.
So, kaya yung reason pala, nagkaroon tayo ng ganitong blackout again dahil hindi natugunan ang promesa nyo dun sa committee noong August 15. Tama? Yes or no?
NGCP.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Just to add yung sa that kaninang question, yung answer is, yung iba po doon ay hindi rin po NGCP role. Yung recommendation like yung sa generation planning pa.
Okay.
Pero kasi kasama ito nung public hearing natin, nung committee hearing natin noong August 15, kayo mismo sinabi na nagsabi na meron kayong safety nets na ginawa at saka gagawin to make sure na hindi magkakaroon ng second blackout. So wag na tayong mag-deny, please. Accept na lang kung may kakulangan, move forward, gawin ang dapat gawin. Tama? Yes or no?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Tama po.
Good answer. Ngayon, may tanong ako. Siyempre, kailangan natin maghanap ng solusyon. We need to be innovative para at least makatulong tayo kasi yung prangkisa nyo, hindi naman yan forever. You have your own deliverables, di ba? So, ang tanong ko, meron ba kayong power shutdown agreement or voluntary shutdown agreement na kung may mangyayari na ganito na mag-overload tayo na alam nyo kulang yung supply ng kuryente, meron ba tayong ganyan? Pwede ko matanong ito kay Moore or...
Yes, Mr. Castro of Moore.
Sorry, ma'am, I wasn't able to
Yes.
capture the question.
Siyempre nagkaroon tayo ng problema at saka nakikita nyo naman yan. Then si Moore kasi alam ko nung August 15 na hearing, na-preempt na nila na magkaroon tayo ng problema sa supply ng kuryente. And sinabi mismo ni Mr. Parcon yan. So na-recall ko lang today, just now, na kung meron ba tayong power shutdown agreement or voluntary load curtailment contract Kunyari, sa mga malls, sa mga malaking pabrika, kasi kung magkakaroon tayo, kung meron tayong ganito, sila mismo, they can help us by saying, okay, pwede kaming mag-shutdown ng 1 oras. So malaking load ang mawawala. So makakatulong ito sa local consumers na para at least ma-deload yung mga kailangan, kung mabawasan
Yes,
yung
ma'am.
load. I'm not an engineer in this aspect, but in layman's term lang, pag intindi ko lang, pwedeng gawin to. So kung wala tayong ganyan, baka it's about time na gumawa tayo na ganitong measures para at least locally we can also secure na magkakaroon ng stable na kuryente during the peak hours na kailangan natin.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Chair, in the case of more power, although we don't have written agreement with the different big loads, no, but we actually, and I could really say that our relationship with them is good in the sense that if we ask them to curtail and bring down their load, they actually would do that. No, and well, there's let's say one mall that's actually connected to one feeder, and even at the feeder level, we actually reduce, no, if need be, and they cooperate even without a written agreement, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
Thank you.
so even without written agreement, okay, they will cooperate. What if hindi ayaw nilang mag-cooperate? So I believe that ERC has also this mandate as regulatory body. Baka panahon na po na ilagay nyo dyan sa mga dapat na requisites na kailangan to secure efficient, effective delivery of energy sa buong Pilipinas, especially to my district and Panay Island. Next question, Mr. Chair. Sa kasamang palad na ibalik lang ang kuryente ng 5 araw, after 5, no, in 5, di ba? So matapos ng halos 4 na araw, bakit umabot sa ganito katagal? So sinabi kanina dahil magka-problema kay Concepcion plant, 150 megawatts. So ang next ko na tanong, do you think that the power outage incident of April 23 and January 2024 would have happened had you maintained or operated the system in accordance with industry standards? Because if not, the common good so requires we might have to amend or repeal the franchise being given to you.
So you're directing the question to NGCP? Yes, NGCP.
Yes, we operated the grid in accordance to the Philippine Grid Code.
Kung nag-ooperate kayo in accordance to Philippine Grid sa sinabi nyo, bakit based sa committee hearing last time, lumabas na 61% o 135 sa 219 na transmission development project na NGCP ang hindi nagawa sa takdang completion date. 86 sa mga ito ay natapos ng lampas sa tinakdang completion date. 49 naman ang kasalukuyan ongoing ngayon at lampas pa sa completion date. Sa 49 na binanggit mula noong nakarang hearing, ilan ang natapos dito, Mr. Chair?
NGCP?
Mr. Chair, for the details, Mr. Chair, for the completed projects, we will submit the information.
Mr. Chair, I would like to have that detailed report by this week, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
So next question na pag-usapan din dito last hearing, yung Luzon, Visayas Grid na interconnection project via Mindoro para may additional source of energy tayo sa Visayas. And ayon sa ERC, the Batangas-Mindoro interconnection project was initially filed by NGCP with ERC in 2011. This was withdrawn in 2021 and subsequently refiled in the same year. It was approved on 23rd of February 2023 based on the transmission project status report as of June 30, 2023, which was submitted by NGCP on last August 15 nung hearing natin. The expected time of completion of BMIP is on June 2027. Currently, this project is at its tendering stage, where proponents are preparing the bid documents. Ano na ang status nito? 3 taon na.
Is this NGCP again?
Simula
Yes,
pa yung
NGCP.
project na ito.
Mr. Chair, may I clarify you're
Yes.
referring to the Batangas-Mindoro interconnection project? Yeah. Your Honor, we are in the pre-construction stage for this project. The hydrographic survey has been completed. We identified the route, the location for the substations, and we also have ongoing LGU engagement for this project, Your Honor.
Ang tanong natin, sa tingin nyo ba yung Cebu Negros Panay substation yung makakatulong to so that magkakaroon tayo ng enough supply na kuryente? Kasi sa tingin ko, isang cable lang din to, isang cable lang din, so magkakaroon din ng problema. So hindi vulnerable din yung supply ng kuryente.
Sorry, so Mr. Moroza, I think one of the things that Honorable Baronda is asking, when are you completing the Batangas-Mindoro submarine line? And then I think she's trying to ponder on, after that connection, then the connection from Mindoro to Panay Island.
Yes.
So I think that's what she wants to find out.
Yes, Your Honor. In our transmission development plan, there's a project to loop or to connect Panay Island to Mindoro. And Your Honor, this will be implemented stage by stage. We are enhancing the grid in the Visayas side through the completion of Cebu Negros Panay 230 kV backbone. And we would like to add that this backbone, we have double circuit 230 kV between Cebu and Negros. Yun po yung project na ongoing. At in addition po yun sa dalawang circuit na existing. So magiging total of 4 circuits po yung link between Cebu and Negros. While between Negros and Panay naman po, double circuit din yung 230 kV at meron pang isang single circuit 138 kV. So ito po ang magpo-provide ng reliable transmission for Panay. And doon naman po tayo sa Batangas side.
Sorry, kailan ang completion nun in CNP?
Yun po yung binanggit namin kanina na March 2024, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, gusto ko lang kasi itanong, yung CNP project ba talaga tugon ito o makakatulong ito sa power shortage? Kasi hindi naman tayo highly technical na tao, but syempre, baka maging vulnerable ito kasi isang substation pa rin. So hindi pa rin magkakaroon ng enough na kuryente, tama, di ba? So, unlike kung yung Panay-Mindoro grid, may alternative connection tayo from the national grid. Yun ang tanong ko, kung matapos man itong Cebu Negros Panay, hindi pa rin ito solusyon. So, please answer us, yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes or no, Honorable Baronda, to whether it's
assured ba tayo hindi na magkakaroon ng blackout kung matapos itong Cebu Negros Panay?
Yeah, I think that's the first question. If the Cebu Negros Panay, which will be completed by March 2024, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And would that already, you can say, stabilize the whole Panay Island, and we can't see any incidents like this happening? Would that we would want to get NGCPs?
Your Honor, for transmission, it will provide a significant improvement, but there are power interruptions that are not all related to transmission.
So meaning the answer is no. Mr. Chair, the answer is no. Second, balik natin, kailan matapos ang Mindoro-Batangas grid? Kailan? Anong commitment nyo? Kailan? Kasi pag hindi, kami dito ng mga congressmen, especially sa Panay o Visayas Island, we are one. And we are not afraid in filing a resolution to conduct investigation to review your franchise. Because meron kayong moral na obligasyon sa consumer, hindi lang sa aming mga mambabatas.
So I guess that's the last question of Honorable Baronda. Just want NGCP to answer that. I think what Honorable Baronda is asking is whether the definitely the Batangas Mindoro submarine cable is already in the pipeline. Is it already under construction? Yes.
Your Honor, under the pre-construction stage.
And when do you see it being finished?
We are targeting on December 2025, but we have dependencies on the right of way for this project.
Okay, so definitely, Honorable Baronda, it's already in the pipeline, but I think it's more of in the TDP, whether or not it will still continue all the way down to Panay Island. And if although of course we'd want that to happen, but it would take a lot of years before that can be online. So I think what's more important is that the Cebu Negros Panay backbone will be finished by March, and I think that would actually answer a lot of the problems besetting Panay Island. Thank you,
One
Honorable
last
Baronda.
question,
Yes, okay, one last question.
Mr. Chair. Under sa, di ba sinabi niyo 2036 to 2040 pa ang Mindoro Panay Interconnection Project. Wala ba kayong plano na unahin din ito dahil sa nangyari recently, 2 blackout na sa Panay Island? Hindi ba pwede gawin nyo ting priority? Can I appeal to ERC na i-make sure nyo na matulungan din ito si NGCP na gawin nilang priority? Because Yusek Sharon sent me the plan. My God, 2036, matanda na yun. Baka may apo na ako noon. Pag naano yan, di ba? Hindi naman po pwede. It's unfair. Kung hindi nyo kaya ibigay para sa amin, better withdraw, di ba? Your interest dito sa power supply kasi you don't deserve.
Yes, ERC.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Castro's waving. I think he
Wait,
wanted
let
to-
me hear first the yes.
Mr. Chair, just to address that point, yes, we will prioritize it once it's filed. Wala pa pong application sa amin yung project na yan.
NGCP, wala pa po kayong application. Can you assure this committee na mag-file kayo the soonest time? Can you appeal to your bosses that we can give priority to this project? If you are really sincere enough in your trust also to deliver based on your franchise, the best supply of electricity, hindi lamang sa Panay Island.
NGCP.
Your Honor, tulad po nung binanggit ko kanina that the project will be implemented stage by stage. Yes, to accelerate po yung preparatory works for the Mindoro to Panay interconnection. We would like to add, Your Honor, na meron pa pong segment din within the Mindoro Island. So lalabas po ito ay 3 segment. Yun pong Batangas Mindoro and yung overhead backbone within Mindoro, which is also, we filed already that to the ERC as part of another project package. At ang remaining segment po that we will need to file ay yun pong submarine naman between Mindoro and Panay.
Yeah. Thank you, NGCP. I think Mr. Castro from MORE would want to.
Mr. Chair, just very quick. I think I know where Congresswoman Jam is coming from with having that interconnection on the other side. Because if we remember 2 years ago, there was actually a operator of a backhoe from DPWH that actually hit the submarine cable on Amlan side, which actually constrained the flow of electricity by 50%, and we had to suffer for about 8 months before the submarine cable was done. Now, if the CNP is still going to use the same route and still terminate in the same substation on the Panay side or on the Negros side, and if the same backhoe operator hits one of this, again, we will be constrained by that. That's why physically, I think Congresswoman is looking at the other side for the physical line, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castro. And in addition, before we continue to the next interpellator, I think instead of the Batangas Mindoro Panay solution, which would take 15, 20 years, giving the right-of-way problems, I'm sure it will come out also. I think the best solution there is another generator to put up more power. Is that correct? Because you still have lacking supply in Panay Island, and then just add the what 100 more megawatts there. You have and ancillary. So not just additional generation plants, but also bring the ancillary inside. Why? That's the reason why you have a submarine cable to bring out excess electricity or bring in electricity to Panay Island. So with that, my question to DOE, is there any application for more power in Panay Island? Or ERC or DOE?
We have, Mr. Chair, we have several committed generation projects, both in renewable energy and di ko makita.
But there are.
There
Can you submit to the committee,
Yes.
Yusek Sharon, a list of projects that are, I don't know if it's already been approved by the DOE. So, because I think the whole problem can be answered just by putting up additional capacity, supply within the island. So everything connected, ancillary and the additional supply.
The total, Mr. Chair, of awarded projects in Western Visayas as of December 2023 is on biomass, geothermal, solar, and pa lang to, RE pa lang to, is 703.
No, but you said I was looking at the power within the island itself.
Correct. This is RE
That's
in
Western
the
Visayas.
Western
eh.
Visayas, yes.
We're looking at the Panay Island itself.
Western Visayas would be a mix of Negros and
Panay.
Yes, sir. And then we also have a list here of list with coal, oil, geothermal, and RE.
Sir,
We can
there
send it to
are
you.
projects. Okay, thank you, DOE. Continuing. Yes.
That's some are awarded, and we can also give you the committed.
Yeah.
Pero yung awarded, hindi naman ibig sabihin yun
Yeah.
tuloy siya. So
Exactly.
maybe that's where we can work with the LGUs to
Right.
encourage the ones given the contract.
Exactly. Thank you, Yusek Sharon. Proceeding, may I now recognize Honorable De Jesus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since all the questions were already answered, so I'll just focus to ERC, especially, I remember last April, Mr. Chair, there was a blackout happen again in Panay, So I just would like to ask, who handles the, I know that the Interim Grid Management Committee or IGMC is the one who investigated that problem, way back in April. So I would like to, for everyone's benefit, may I ask first, ask the ERC to please enlighten us to who are the members of the Interim Grid Management Committee.
Yes, ERC.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We followed the composition prescribed in the grid code for the members of the Grid Management Committee. So there are representatives from SO. In fact, there are 2 seats for them because there's 1 seat for the SO, another for the transmission network provider. And as mentioned earlier, both functions are performed by NGCP. And then there are also GENCO representatives, DU representatives, and they are supported because we are under the interim GMC. They're supported by the Technical Committee of PEMC.
So in short, Mr. Chair, so there were 2 representatives from SO, For the information of everyone, yung SO is the system operator, am I right? Which is also handled by NGCP. Okay. So anong time yun nung oras nang sinabihan kayo ng system operator nun?
The first, Mr. Chair, the first significant incident report for this January 2 event was received after the 2:19 p.m. tripping. Let me just check po what exact time. Sorry, wala pala yung. I'll check, Mr. Chair, but it was around 3, I think, when we received the first significant incident report.
Chair, so since they investigated last April, so ano naging decision po ng committee na yon?
For the April incident, there were several recommendations, as I mentioned earlier. It wasn't the exercise was to identify what the problems are and what immediate solutions could be undertaken. So there were short-term, medium-term, and long-term solutions that were proposed. And that's why I reported earlier that based on the reports that we got periodically from NGCP, the latest of which was November, they reported that almost all were completed.
Mr. Chair, so I guess let me hear what's the to-do list for NGCP to work on to prevent the April 23 three-day outage from the occurring again. And nangyari ulit to. First, they said review and upgrade of protection systems for sub-transmission lines, specifically formulation of protection schemes to achieve shorter fault clearing that complies with the grid code requirement. Coordination of feeder protection scheme with automatic undervoltage load shedding. Second, perform a simulation study testing these protection schemes during undervoltage conditions. And lastly, review indications in the control and protection system of the plants during system disturbance, among others. Ito yung mga inanyunon na to-do list. Am I right, Mr. Chair?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
So what happened after that?
Sorry, I think Honorable De Jesus, the question is, was NGCP able to comply with the
Yes.
recommendations made by the IGMC? They were?
Based on their self-submitted reports, they indicated completed, and that's why we asked for the detailed reports, which they have not submitted yet, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, kasi nangyari ulit to, so I guess, can we ask them again kung talagang what took them so long na i-submit? Remember, April pa nangyari to.
Yeah, NGCP? As to your actions to the recommendations of the IGMC. Applied IGMC recommendations.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The submission will be done. The report is already completed, and then we will be submitting it to ERC.
But have you already complied with all the recommendations of the IGMC?
Yes.
But based on your answer to ERC, you guys have already complied, correct?
That is correct. For every item, we have complied on that, and then, for instance, the protection settings for the feeders, that was completed. The adjustment was completed last May 2023.
So, Mr. Chair, kasi it was recommended to NGCP that within the period of 6 months, kailangan nila ma-comply. So, siguro my second question is NGCP implementing this plan? Na ano nyo na yun? Yung first April, kasi it happened again ngayon January.
Actually, Honorable De Jesus, I think they've already
answered
and they've already complied. I think the question would be to ERC, how can you confirm that they have already complied? Yan. Kasi he says, she says di ba? Kung sinabi ng NGCP, oh, we've complied. Paano natin ma-sure na nag-comply sila?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, that's part of the investigation now. Because, for example, one of the measures required was a simulation study and detailed modeling of, or the formulation, let me just go to this one. The coordination of feeder protection scheme with automatic undervoltage load shedding. They indicated that as of July, they have completed the study of this requirement. So one of the issues we will cover in the investigation is, so you did the study, did you implement, did you execute? Because plans are good, all the studies are good, but were they executed as envisioned? And if they were executed as envisioned, then we can still improve on those sides. So plans are, we can come up with plans to tick the box, but execution is always key.
Mr. Chair, siguro, again, we're not blaming anyone here, no, because as we know, the energy is a family composed of DOE, ERC, generation, of course, the transmission, no? Siguro, I'll just move to another question. To NGCP, yung binanggit kanina ni Attorney James ng Ileco, which is the GM there, yung equitable distribution of power, are you agree with that?
That's the load allocation, Mr. Chair?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Yes. What we have implemented is the proportionate pro rata allocation of load based on the coincident peak demand of the DUs and ECs in Panay, because we don't have information on the bilateral contracts between the DUs, ECs, and the generators.
So you don't have bilateral contract?
Information.
Information,
Mr. Chair.
yeah. So during the blackout, no, sino una yung dinispatch na distribution utilities? Sino yung una yung binigyan?
Yes, Mr. Chair, yes. For the restoration, the one that we have nearest to the energized facility, we restored from the submarine cable. So that's from Concepcion substation, from Ibarotac, then towards Concepcion substation first. And then we go to Dingle, down to Santa Barbara, and then went up to Panitan. So that's a process. There's a process for the permanent restoration highway. There's a step-by-step energization. And whenever we energize a segment, a portion of the transmission system, then we can accommodate loads. But if when all are already restored and the supply is still limited, we still implement, of course, the load allocation, as you mentioned, Mr. Chair, and we base it as on a pro rata basis.
Mr. Chair, I think for me, yung interim grid committee is very important. ERC, ano ba, interim pa lang ba sila ngayon o ano na? Is that a permanent and who's paying for it? ERC?
Thank you po. Right now, it's still on an interim basis, Your Honor. We are preparing the framework for the reconstitution of both the regular GMC and the Distribution Management Committee, which have not been functioning for many years now. So we're reconstituting them, 5 years.
7 years daw, sabi ni Kong Dago. So kasi very important to, Mr. Chair, no? Kasi ito it will link between generation, the DOE, ERC, and of course the transmission, especially the electric cooperatives na lagi nilang binabato, sinisiraan kapag nagbabaraw out. They always blame electric cooperatives, no? Which is not the case. So, bakit di natin gawin permanent na lang to? And who's paying for it? Sino ba nagbabayad dito? Government or the DOs?
Years.
Mr. Chair, actually yun po yung naging issue nung dati. First, it was, I think, the stakeholders who were paying for it, and then they had to incorporate it so that they can raise funds, but that was the one that that became dormant. That GMC that was incorporated, and there was no entity anymore functioning as the GMC. Now we are preparing the study to reconstitute the GMC and evaluating the most efficient legal framework for it, because if we heard some reservations of from stakeholders and from potential members that if it's government funded, then it will be considered a GOCC subject to all the requirements, and it might cripple the dynamic nature. That's what's supposed to be the dynamic nature of a GMC. So we're studying it.
Mr. Chair, last question na lang po, no? I think this is very important since Chairman Mona Lisa mentioned a while ago, the DUs are paying for it, no? So if we can continue that, it will prevent yung future brownout na ganito. Why? Because there will be, there's no government intervention. It's between the stakeholders po. So I think for me, Mr. Chair, kailangan talaga they need to implement this again, not as an interim, but as a regular management grid committee. Kailangan po natin gawin yan to avoid yung future blackout. Kasi at the end of the day, Mr. Chair, nagsasuffer dito yung mga consumers natin eh. And it will happen again, no? It will happen again, believe me. So I hope, Mr. Chair, na dapat implement na nila ngayon yan. Not as an interim, but a regular management committee. Yun lang, Mr. Chair, and I prepare for second round. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable De Jesus. And I think the existence of a grid management committee was there before. It was taken out. And now it's just ERC creating another interim grid management committee. And I join Honorable President De Jesus that I think ERC should already implement this. But also with the grid management committee, wouldn't that be the same committee that will check whether or not the NGCP has complied with the recommendations, no? Okay. All right. Thank you, Honorable De Jesus. Now, may I recognize Honorable Benitez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Many of the questions that I was going to ask have already actually been mentioned and asked, no? But it seems to me I'd like to reiterate a short series of statements. The first is, from my understanding of the issue, there are two sets. They can be clustered under two sets. One is the function of a systems operator, under which we expect or have expected the NGCP to provide system stability, as well as sufficient ancillary services should it be needed. It seems, given the testimony this morning, number one, the ancillary services that have been contracted by the NGCP are not in the island of Panay. And therefore, once the Negros-Panay cable tripped, there was no way for them to service that ancillary service need of the island of Panay and Guimaras. So the first is, obviously, there is something wrong with the ancillary services planning of the NGCP. And notwithstanding a 2022 compliance to the CSP requirement of the DOE, they did not do anything in 2023 to ensure ancillary services were in fact available on the island of Panay. Number one. Number two, the second cluster seems to be having to do with transmission services or network provider functions of NGCP. In this case, the multiple delays in their compliance with the transmission development plan that they call their own, after all, has also caused an inability for them to respond because of infrastructure deficiency of the backbone. Given those two things, hindi na natin tatanungin ulit yung bakit wala sa Panay ang ancillary services ninyo, because the answer obviously is kulang. Bakit nyo tinatawag na normal ang voltage when in fact I cannot believe that all those power plants have a conspiracy to cause brownouts, no, all at the same time for tripping. So obviously there's something technically wrong with the way you
Okay kami dito eh. May iba.
Hello. Meron to. Oh, here. Kaso malayo. Rotating brownout yung ating mga mic eh. Rotating. Dito ka.
Sorry, ang tagal ko kasi naghintay. Yung mga taga-Panay umuwi na. Oh. Si Kong Janet na lang at saka si Kong Jam Jam nandito. No, so obviously with the delays in whatever the force majeure reasons for the delays for the infrastructure developments might be, there has been delays, right? It has already been brought up, Mr. Chair, that two things. For Iloilo City alone, for the 4 days, the loss of revenue is estimated to be 1.2 to 1.5 billion pesos in Iloilo City alone. At the same time, their consumers have paid 971 million pesos worth of ancillary services, which they have not received, right? So given that, number one, the failures in 2023, number two, the delays in compliance with the transmission development plan. I will no longer ask NGCP questions. I will follow Congressman Dagooc's line na hindi naman sila pwedeng paaminin, no, ng kanilang kasalanan. Tanungin na lang natin si ERC. Given that you are the regulatory agency that in many ways has oversight over this, what are the recourse that ERC has for non-compliance or repeated non-compliance of NGCP?
ERC?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The immediate recourse for incident specific, for example, are penalties that we can impose. Under the EPIRA, we are authorized to impose penalties up to 50 million pesos. That's the limit of our ability to impose penalties. We can also, I had the team check just now, the open access transmission services rules allow for interruption billing adjustments. So we can actually order billing adjustments for certain interruptions. We'll study, it has never been used for NGCP purposes. So if this is the first time that the commission is actually going to study it. The third is we can, based on our findings, which we will also submit to this body, we can make recommendations also to Congress based on the findings that we will make as a result of our investigation. Also, Mr. Chair, on the delays, we have actually issued show cause orders against NGCP on the delayed projects. We're just completing the evaluation of the reasons that they have submitted as the causes of the delay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, if I may follow up. So for the causes of the delay, you send the show cause. What's the process? You send the show cause order, they respond to you, but the delay remains, right? Presumably. So what happens then?
So I think for the delays, there are two tracks being pursued. On the ERC side, we cannot make them move faster. So we will what we have is a stick. So we will impose the penalties for unjustified delays, but at the same time, we work hand in hand with the DOE. That's why it was actually good, Your Honor, that NGCP submitted to us detailed reasons this time around when we issued the show cause orders. And we endorsed those reasons to DOE, and DOE was able to help them sort out some of the problems that they have encountered, particularly those that involve right-of-way. So parallel track, we have the stick, they have not really the carrot, but the ability to help NGCP sort out the problems, because that's what will make the projects be realized.
So, Mr. Chair, again, ma'am, the question lang. Is the penalty per issue and per project, or is it an absolute total of 50 million? I'm just asking because two things, right? Assume that you can reverse, as you've done for the utilities in the past, charges for ancillary services. And they have already manifested a request that the 971 million be returned to the consumers, given that the ancillary services have not actually been realized for the island of Panay. If you then have a maximum of a 50 million penalty, that doesn't reach the 1.5 billion for Iloilo City alone.
Yes, Your Honor, the 50 million penalty, the 50 million amount is a cap on the penalty. That's separate from the refund if we issue refunds. And we've done this for the GenCos in particular.
And sorry, and the cap of the penalty is per event, per infraction, per violation.
Per violation.
So if they are discovered to have had 5 violations, for example, they can be made to pay 250 million. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you very much. I think at that point, Mr. Chair, I have no more questions. Thank you very much, Ms. Dimalan.
Thank you, Honorable Benitez. But just a follow-up question, just curious lang. So you guys set a limit at 50 million per violation.
It's the EPIRA, Your Honor.
Ay, sorry, the IPIRA pala. Where does that go to?
To the Treasury.
Diretso sa treasury. So because
All
everyone
of it.
because everyone kept on saying that syempre yung mga kababayan natin na palaging tinatamaan pag nagla-blackout, 'di ba? Ano naman reparation natin doon, 'di ba? So usually for other stuff, inaano natin ng mga refund. I was just like gumagalaw lang yung utak ko na yung certain penalties that are being asked from sa generation, from transmission, from DUs. Baka there might be a way we can use that to give it back to the people na naapektuhan nung mga pagkukulang.
Yes,
Tama
Your
ba,
Honor.
ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor. In fact, one of the recommendations we made for the EPIRA amendment
Yes.
is to allow ERC the mandate or the authority to order the application of penalties for return, either in the form of refund to the consumers that suffered the inconvenience or the violation that resulted in interruption of service, if that's the case. Right now, we don't have that authority, but if there's an amendment in the law, then we can have that authority to make that application.
All right, duly noted. Thank you, ERC. Proceeding, may I now recognize Vice Chair Honorable Dan Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we'll be asking yung sa NGCP, no? Just wanted to confirm yung inyong schedule contracted reserve, no? Ilang megawatts ba yung contracted reserve ninyo?
NGCP?
Isa-isayin natin. Sa January 2, yung regulating reserve nyo, magkano yung nakontrata ninyo? Is it correct to say na 91.6 megawatts?
Yes, Attorney Aktu, please.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Congressman Fernandez. Per the records which is provided to me, and the contracting is on the entire Visayas grid. So the requirement for Visayas of
No, I'm
regulating.
not asking the requirement. I'm asking the yung scheduled contracted reserve. How much is the contracted reserve? Sinagot mo to kahapon sa Senado eh.
What I answered yesterday, Your Honor, is the contracted part. The scheduled part, we have to get the records from.
Contracted scheduled reserve.
There's a difference between contracted and scheduled, Mr. Chair.
Ito, scheduled contracted reserve. Nakalagay dito 91.6.
Yes, because the schedule varies on a day-to-day.
Hindi, I'm asking about the January 2. January 2. O, BSO, ano?
Yes, Mr. Chair, for the scheduled, that's scheduled per AS type. For RR, the schedule ranges from, in percent, that's 100% to 109%. That's for regulating reserve.
Okay, so ang regulating reserve, ang required is 108. Is that right? Megawatts.
It depends.
Pag-usapan natin megawatts para hindi tayo malito. Ang regulating reserve that is required by the Philippine Grid Code is 108 for regulating reserve, correct?
Mr. Chair, the requirement is 4% of the demand.
Kaya nga, ano mo na sa megawatt? Anong megawatt? Nakalagay 108. In accordance sa ERC, it's 108. So ilan ang required? Ilan ang required? Ilan ang scheduled contracted reserve sa megawatts?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The reason why I answered that it depends on the megawatt because the demand varies within the day and therefore the requirement for
Yes, I know that. What I'm asking is yung megawatt that you have contracted sa regulating reserve. Kasi napakasimple ng tanong BSO, Christian. Christian ba pangalan mo?
Yes.
Napakasimple ng tinatanong ko. Ilan yung regulating reserve ninyo?
Okay. Our regulating reserve
megawatts.
In megawatts is 60, highest is
1.6.
97.
97. Okay.
Yes.
So mali itong nandito. 97 megawatts, correct? Ang minimum nyo is 44.
The minimum for January 2 is 60 to 61
megawatts. Okay.
Yes.
Ilan naman ang contingency ninyo? Ang requirements is 153, tapos yung maximum nyo, ilan? January 2 also.
Yeah, for January 2, Mr. Chair, based on the scheduled contingency reserve, we have an available of okay, this is 90, the highest is 97.
Yeah, 97. And
Yeah.
and minimum is 42.
Minimum is 42. That's
Okay.
correct.
Dispatchable.
For dispatchable, its highest is 169. 169 megawatts, Mr. Chair.
So you have a like 97, a total of 363 ancillary services.
Yeah, for the total of RRCR and DR.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair.
megawatts. Okay. At ito ay binayaran ng taong bayan, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair, for the Visayas grid.
And these are our ancillary services
That is correct.
considered as insurance. In other words, binayaran mo ang insurance mo para magkaroon ka ng security, pero hindi na-deliver. Tama? Hindi nyo na-deliver yung kuryente.
There are,
Kasi nagkaroon ng failure, correct?
if we're,
Hindi. Simple lang naman eh. Di ba hindi nyo na-deliver yung kuryente in the right time, in the right hour? Because of the failure of everything? Basta't nagkaroon ng failure. Di ba? At responsibility yun ng NGCP, correct? Correct. Kasi pag nagsinungaling ka, I will move for your contempt. Para contempt kita dito. Para makabawi ang mga taga Iloilo sa ginawa nyo sa mga taong bayan, natulog sa kalye, natulog sa plaza, yung mga nasa ospital, inilabas, baka may namatay pa, hindi natin alam. I'm just asking a simple question, di ba? Yes or no lang naman yan eh.
yes, Mr. Chair, if we're talking about the event, the 1206 and the 1419, we, based on the record that we got, because we're monitoring these ancillary service providers, there have been response. There's a response from